Hello, my name is Theo Randall and I'm from Theo Randall at the Intercontinental. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make fresh pasta. Okay, so this is my recipe how to make fresh pasta. So I'm going to use whole eggs and egg yolks. It's a very rich pasta dough. So first of all, we take 350 grams of fine Tipo 00 flour. It's the only pasta flour you can use. You cannot use plain flour. So you put the flour in the food processor. Then I've got some fine semolina flour, so about 25 grams, just to give a bit of texture and colour. And then we're going to do the eggs. So we're going to do 2 whole eggs, and I try and use a very enriched egg yolk. Burford Brown's a very good breed of hen for the eggs, or these ones which are Cornish eggs. It's very important that the quality of the egg is organic or it's of a nice colour. So we'll do 4 of these. Now there's lots of recipes where you add salt and olive oil. Do not add salt or olive oil to pasta dough because it'll make it go black. So just a little bit of water if you need anything. Okay, so we'll just do 1 more yolk, and that'll be 4 yolks and 2 whole eggs. And we might need to add another yolk, but let's just have a look at this now. Okay, so we'll turn the food processor on. So at this point, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of water. And then we'll just empty the pasta dough into the bowl, and it should have this Play-Doh sort of texture, so plasticine. And then we'll just work that in, and we'll start to push it down onto the bench. Just going to fold over the dough and just make sure that all the dough's incorporated together. And then add a little bit of semolina flour so it doesn't stick. Start kneading the dough just to get a nice smooth paste. And the thing about pasta is that the more elasticated it is, the better it is, because then you can roll it much thinner and it tastes so much nicer when the pasta is really thin. So when you make fresh pasta, it's very important to have a damp tea towel, because the damp tea towel will stop the pasta from drying, so you can pop it on the side and not have to keep going backwards and forwards to the fridge. So we're just going to cut this piece of pasta dough in half to make it more manageable. If you put too much pasta dough through the machine, it's just going to break your machine. So keep it quite small, the quantity, and then damp tea towel over the top of the pasta, and then just leave that on one side. And then we'll just start putting this through the machine. Now press it nice and thin so it goes through the 2 rollers. If you put it too thick, it's just going to break the machine. And this process is called proving the pasta. And proving the pasta is a little bit like bread. It's basically getting all the gluten working so it becomes nice and tough and elasticated, so you can really work the pasta, so the pasta's got a nice chewy al dente bite to it. And then we'll start putting the pasta through the machine. Go slowly, don't go too fast, because you want to get that first roll through, and then fold over. So each time we're going to fold over. You need to do this about 5 or 6 times so the pasta becomes really elasticated. So we'll keep going through. And I find actually using a manual machine is better than an electric one, because you can kind of control it so much better. And as you can see, the pasta's really starting to come together, and it'll become really, really smooth, almost like silk, because you're extruding that pasta through the 2 rollers, and that's just making it really, really stretchy. Now, if you go to Bologna, they always roll the pasta by hand, and everything's done with a wooden rolling pin. And using a pasta machine is unheard of, but at home, this is probably the best way to do it. So we keep rolling. You can see the pasta's becoming silkier and silkier, but you can see the colour of it's beautiful from those amazing eggs. But you can't really overprove the pasta. The only thing that will happen is it'll become too dry. So 5 or 6 times should be enough. And then that's the sort of consistency you want, a very silky pasta dough that's quite elasticated. And then what we're going to do, we're going to start putting it through the machine. So notch by notch, 1 notch down, you'll hear a kind of click, and then put the pasta dough through the finer setting on the wheels, and then do it 2 times. Another notch, down it goes, holding the pasta, stretching it so it doesn't get stuck. That pasta's getting thinner and thinner, and also it's becoming really, really silky. You can be quite rough with it because you've made it very, very tough. You've made it very elasticated, rather. Now we're getting a bit too long now, so anything longer becomes unmanageable. So we'll just cut this into the right size, but that's kind of what you want. Beautiful, silky, golden yellow pasta. So we'll just cut this into 3. 1, 2, 3. And then put a little bit of semolina flour on in between each sheet of pasta, just so it doesn't stick. And then we're going to pop the tea towel, our damp tea towel, on top until we're ready to make our next stage. So now we've rolled out the pasta, we can now make whichever pasta we want to do. So we can make tagliarini, we can make tagliatelle, we can make pappardelle, we can make ravioli, or we can make cappelletti, any one you want. But let's start off with the tagliatelle. So we get the pasta dough. Now, I always say, if you can kind of see your hand through the pasta dough, just the sort of silhouette of it, it's the right thickness. If it's too thick, it's not very nice when you eat it. It's not very digestible. And if it's too thin, it just cooks too quickly. So you want to have that sort of nice little bite to it, the al dente bite, which is to the tooth. It's got texture. So we'll cut the pasta to the length we want. So this is going to be the length of the tagliatelle. And you can just cut this all up beforehand. What you do, when it's just not too dry, but it's just dried a little bit, you then put it through the machine. So we take the handle out of the pasta rollers and then put it into the cutter. This is an attachment that you get with all pasta machines. And this one is tagliatelle, another one is tagliarini. So we'll do both. And we put the pasta through, and then we start rolling clockwise to pull the pasta through, and then you have your tagliatelle. And that just goes somewhere flat and dry. Don't be tempted to curl it to lovely little curls like you get in the supermarkets. It's better to keep it flat, because if it's slightly damp, what'll happen is the pasta will stick together and you'll end up with a blob of pasta, which is not very nice. Then we'll do the tagliarini. So just to the other rollers, put it through, slowly starting off, put the pasta through the cutters, and then you get a beautiful tagliarini. This is not spaghetti, it's tagliarini. There's a very big difference. Spaghetti is always using dried durum wheat flour, and it's always a dry product. This is fresh pasta, and this one is called tagliarini. This is probably the most famous Piemonte, where they serve it with butter and white truffles, which is amazing. So the best way to cook tagliarini is by adding tagliarini to the pasta water, salted pasta water, and then cook the pasta for about 2 minutes, not too long, because tagliarini is very, very fine, so it cooks very, very quickly. And then using a pair of tongs, take the pasta out of the water and add it to the sauce, and move the pasta in the pan together so it emulsifies. Okay, so make sure that you stir the pasta a lot and give it a little toss, and then lift up the pasta, and it should all be really lovely and juicy. Not too wet, but juicy. And that butter and all that pasta water has emulsified, so you get this really beautiful, thick-coated pasta. And then we just finish this with some Parmesan cheese. Just fine grating of Parmesan cheese and a little bit more black pepper. And if you're lucky to have a white truffle or any kind of truffle, you can grate that on top.